Me and a Facebook friend were hashing out some political issues today, and it sparked some inspiration in me. And the topic of the New World Order came up, and how you're not going to own anything and be very happy, and the topic of social credit, the social credit system, etc., etc., and how to maintain one's freedom, right? That's the topic I want to talk about. Man, my hair is sticking out everywhere. Freedom. People think that having the freedom to drive their big pickup trucks and have their guns is freedom. The things that our ego desires and craves and needs in order to feel happy, that's not freedom. To give ego everything that it wants because our subconscious trauma remains undetected and unsatisfied, that's not freedom. That's just consumerism and distraction, and avoidance of dealing with the soul, right? True freedom is achieved not by gunpowder and not by protest. The kind of freedom that you want really is freedom from the tyranny of your addicted ego. Of course, this is a psychological issue that needs to be psychologically approached, not politically. And I'm finding that because I have discovered the freedom in my soul, right, the untethered consciousness of my soul, my happiness does not depend on, whether I can go to places, drive wherever I want to drive. It's not circumstantial. And you might say, well, it's easy for you to say. You live in the country and you're out in nature and you have freedom, right? I do have freedom. But I have already explored the tyranny of my ego in the dark night of the soul, and living with the discontent because of my internal lack of freedom. I know what it feels like psychologically to not be free. I know what it feels like to have lusts and desires that are generated from this unconscious space that will make people unhappy even if they have a lot of stuff, right? And the ego just accumulates more and more stuff. Ego needs to consume. Ego needs to have the liberty to get what it wants. Otherwise, it's not going to be happy. So what I'm trying to say is freedom is not defined by whether you can keep your guns and drive your big guzzling trucks, run around on government land, go where you please, shoot what you want. That's not freedom. That's an undisciplined ego that has unfulfilled psychological issues. And because we live disconnected from our soul, from our heart, from our conscious soul, We're constantly looking for freedom externally. When you are connected to your soul, you can generate your own happiness inside a prison cell, because you are unlimited in soul. Your consciousness is unlimited and your love is unlimited. And as long as you have love in your heart, you can pretty much endure anything, right? So freedom, true freedom, is the love in our heart and to be connected to our heart. It's not whether we have the freedom to accumulate wealth, property, can come and go as we please, it's nice, but there's also a lot of irresponsibility draped in that kind of freedom. And that kind of freedom never creates conscious change, right? So I cannot put all the blame on the governments of this world. They are really the only ones that are creating change through the circumstances by which they squeeze us. They squeeze us in order to see a different perspective. The same thing with the issue of climate change, right? Is it fake? Is it true? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But you can't get the people who don't believe in climate change, who think that it's all covert operations, malicious operations. Those people will never change. They will never change their perspective. They will never become conscious enough to take some responsibility of taking part in the change, right? For example, here in Canada we have the wildfire problem, and the national parks are closed for recreational activity, because ATVs and campers do ignite a lot of fires. And so in order to control the situation, the government has put on a temporary ban on all recreational activity in the forests. Of course, people are crying out for having their freedom curbed, right? But sometimes you have to make a compromise, because to the people who live near and inside the fire zone, they're trying everything to save their lives and their properties. And they welcome this act of curbing access to the natural areas, to not start more fires and thereby deplete the concentrated effort in one area, right? The more fires start, the less successful the firefighting will be. So sometimes you have to see it from another side, that restrictions are not always all about taking your freedoms away. They are temporary measures to help in a crisis situation. And it's good if we can exercise. Like I told my friend, I did this exercise for my amygdala to try and see a positive in, for example, the World Economic Forum's plan for 2030, that you will own nothing and be very happy. I tried to see the positive. I tried to see if there could be a positive to that, just to gain a different perspective. I mean, we won't know for sure until that time comes, but you know, owning something and having something are not the same thing. You can have something without owning or possessing it. So maybe we are shifting into a different system. Maybe it doesn't mean that we're all going to be homeless. Maybe it doesn't mean that we're all stuffed into 15-minute cities, right? Are there alternatives? Is it our trauma, our survival wound that blinds us from seeing common sense and seeing maybe a positive side to this angle? I recommend you do the exercise of switching your brain to try and see a positive in a situation, to get another insight, another angle, right? Like I said, I can only be proven right or wrong when 2030 comes around. I'm not suggesting we all lay down and take everything that's presented to us, but I think we need to be rational about it and consider it and try to see the other perspective once in a while, to not be so uptight in our survival wound and just protest for the sake of protesting, if that makes sense.